Woody's fear of failure and his friend excuses were already halfway down the top field as they had realised that they would no longer be needed for the rest of the day. Chapter 29. The Key to Success in All Things. Woody and his new mentor, Wisdom, passed the landlord, who was so busy building a wall back up that he only noticed them once he had passed by. Wisdom looked over his shoulder and nodded in response to the landlord's "Morning." Woody, on the other hand, enthusiastically informed him that they were going hunting. The landlord wished them the commonplace "Good luck" salutation, only to receive a look from Wisdom which told him that luck would have no bearing on the outcome of their endeavours. When they had walked to the top of the field containing the poisonous herbs, Wisdom told the boy that they would have to climb over the wall and walk up through the next two fields. This the youngster did, without question, thinking that it must be safe to be alone with the stranger, or fate and his older self would not have allowed such a thing to take place. After they had walked to the top of the third field, Woody turned to see how far they had come. The diminished appearance of the wall-building landlord, who now looked small and far away, made him wonder how much further they would be travelling, and whether his older time separation made me worried about him. After all, however far they travelled to find their quarry was only half the time that they would be away. "Do you want to turn back?" asked Wisdom, when he saw Woody looking back towards the hotel and the distance which they had walked. "It's up to you," he said, biting his lip, trying to put the onus on Wisdom. That way he felt that it would not look like a quitter if they did turn back. "I'm willing to go on," Wisdom informed him. "Are you?" he asked, being far too wise to fall for such amateur reverse psychology, making sure that the decision was indeed Woody's responsibility. "All right then," agreed Woody, realising they had been outmanoeuvred. "It seems a shame to turn back after coming this far." With the decision agreed upon, they climbed over the wall and began walking through the next field. Halfway up, something glistened in the morning sun. "Look," said Wisdom, pointing down at the grass. At first Woody could see nothing as far as he could tell, which was worth looking at. Wisdom licked his finger, crouched in the grass, and then ran his moist finger along a blade of grass. "There," he said, standing back up and moving his finger towards Woody's face. All that the youngster could see were a few speckles of glitter. "Come on," said Wisdom, who had now lowered his voice to a whisper. Woody found himself instinctively creeping behind Wisdom, being sure to make as little noise as possible. The field was now beginning to plateau, and as it did, Wisdom began to decrease his stature with each quiet step that he took. Soon he was crouched so low that the boy wondered how he managed to move all scrunched up like that. "There you are," Wisdom said, pulling Woody down into the cover of grass. "How does that one suit you?" Woody whispered as quietly as he could, considering how excited he was. "Caw, yeah." "Right then, what you have to do is run at it and grab it with both hands, making sure—" "Me?" interrupted the youngster, astounded, shrinking away from the challenge. The opportunity was bigger than the others which he had seen in the village, and its golden hue made it intimidating to the youngster. "It won't bite you," Wisdom assured him. "No, but it looks as though it could sting me or something. I'm a bit scared," Woody confessed, feeling a little embarrassed. "Scared of what?" "Of that. I don't know what it's made of, or what it does, or what it might do if I go grabbing at it." "Fear of the unknown, then?" Wisdom pushed at the boy's emotions, and then admonished him by stating that he was allowing fear to manipulate his imagination. Woody was having trouble keeping his voice down to a whisper. He nodded and said, "Yes, I suppose so." "Shall we go then? Shall we walk away from a golden opportunity, back to the others, empty-handed, where you can feel safe, because nothing is expected from you, sitting in your big, comfy chair, drinking from your saucer of milk?" Woody did not like the way in which Wisdom was talking to him, and did not really appreciate the pussy inference regarding a saucer of milk. He did not like the way that Wisdom was making him feel, nor the way his own thoughts were questioning his reasons for doing or not doing a challenging task. He wished he was back fishing or in the derelict mill, where so much responsibility would not be expected of him. "Well?" pushed Wisdom, moving his face towards Woody's and refusing to look away. It was obvious that Wisdom was not going to let him off the hook. No, I get it," he found the courage to say. Then the time and again friend offered to help him out with his uncomfortableness. "What if you miss it? What if it scoots away?" asked an excuse. "Go on, ask him," he advised Woody. So he did. "Then come back to me and you'll be exactly where you were before you tried, except for the knowledge which you will have gained from trying, from actually having a go. You will have learned that perhaps your approach was wrong, or that maybe you hesitated too long before making your move, or perhaps you made too much noise by making too much of a song and dance about it." He gave Woody a look. "As long as you learn something from your attempt, then you are better off than you were before you tried." Woody looked at Wisdom and asked him, "What, you think that I'm useless, a failure, if I don't manage to catch it?" "No," replied Wisdom sincerely. "You are only a failure if you do not try. As long as you are honest with yourself that you gave it 100% effort, that is all that counts. You have done really well already." I haven't done anything," he said innocently. "Yes, you have," Wisdom told him. "Just look how far you've walked." Wisdom then pointed down at the village, which resembled a toy town full of miniature wind-up figures, some of whom were still scurrying around in their endeavours to secure the few remaining opportunities. He continued with his praise for the youngster. "You have come looking for opportunities, while that lot down there are all vying for the same ones in the same area as one another, which has quickly become a saturated market. Unlike you, who has come to a place where nobody else could be bothered making the effort of climbing to such heights. That takes courage, believing in yourself and breaking away from the pack in order to go your own way." Woody's fear of failure and his friend's excuses were already halfway down the top field, and they realized they would no longer be needed for the rest of the day. Wisdom continued building the youngster's self-esteem. "You have got the one characteristic which sets you apart from a lot of the others back in the village. It is the difference between the ones who make the grade and the ones who make excuses." What have I got that's different?" "The willingness to do whatever it is that's needed to be done, when it's needed to be done, in order to achieve the desired result." Nobody had ever spoken to young Woody like that before. It made him feel very proud and filled him full of self-worth, so much so that he ran and launched himself wholeheartedly at the opportunity. "I've got it!" he cried, as he hit the ground and grabbed the golden opportunity with both hands. It struggled frantically, hissing like a feral cat for a few seconds as it tried to break free, but the youngster put 100% effort into keeping hold of it. And, as Wisdom had promised, he never bit him, and it was nowhere near as daunting as his imagination would have him believe he was going to be. Once the opportunity had stopped struggling, Woody stood up and took it over to show Wisdom. A fine specimen, most promising, Wisdom assured him. Now, pop it in here so you can take it with you without losing it. Woody dropped the opportunity into a large leather pouch that Wisdom was holding open and then pulled tight the drawstring across its top. Wisdom handed the pouch to the boy, who held it firmly and attentively, and they started their descent back to the village. As they were walking, the youngster asked Wisdom what he meant when he had used the term saturated market. Wisdom realised that he had gotten in front of the boy's business aptitude, as he had not yet picked up his future document or his plan of action folder. After answering the boy's question using a simple analogy, Wisdom answered all of Woody's questions in the same easy manner. Woody thought that it was in his best interest to take advantage of Wisdom's knowledge whilst he had the chance. He questioned his new teacher repeatedly, who gladly answered everything which was asked of him. He never seemed to begrudge answering any of Woody's questions, even the obscure ones, such as the origin of why butterflies are so named. Woody really enjoyed the manner in which Wisdom explained ideas and facts to him, never once making him feel dim or like a stupid boy when he asked again for a repeat explanation. He particularly enjoyed how Wisdom was willing to use whatever was at hand to clarify an explanation, such as a 50-pence coin and some smaller ones when explaining about atoms. By the time they had reached the bottom of the third field and now rebuilt wall, Wisdom had answered nearly 20 of Woody's questions. The youngster was pleased and extremely impressed by the knowledge which Wisdom possessed, and asked him where he had acquired it all. A friend of mine taught me everything which I know. Will he teach me things? Oh yes, definitely, provided that you are willing to learn from him. Good, said Woody, as they climbed over the wall and into the field where the hotel's produce was grown. By the time they had reached the bottom of the third field and now rebuilt wall, Wisdom had answered nearly 20 of Woody's questions. The youngster was pleased and extremely impressed by the knowledge which Wisdom possessed, and asked him where he had acquired it all. A friend of mine taught me everything which I know. Will he teach me things? Oh yes, definitely, provided that you are willing to learn from him. Good, said Woody, as they climbed over the wall and into the field where the hotel's produce was grown. I have to go now, Wisdom told him. I'm meeting my friend in the hotel. If you go down there a short distance, I'm sure you'll find Fate and the others near the bridge. Take care. Then he smiled at the youngster, while hoping that most of the knowledge that he had imparted upon him stayed with him, for his desire to learn was refreshingly commendable. As Wisdom walked towards the kitchen door, he paused at the entrance to brush some pieces of grass from the soles of his feet on the doormat. Woody looked over at him and thought about how nice he had been to him by taking him on the hunt, patiently answering all his questions and making him feel special. So he ran over to him to say thank you. For what? Asked Wisdom. For this. And he held up the pouch aloft which contained the golden opportunity. You've earned that, and you deserve it. Just make sure that you learn from it by understanding what it represents. I will, the youngster promised, thinking that he had no idea what he was supposed to do with such a thing. He realised, however, that Fate would probably be the one who would show him how it worked and what he would be expected to do with the shiny sphere. He thanked Wisdom again, and then they parted company. It turned out that Everett, Fate, and the landlord were sat by the stream upon a log-style old bench, courtesy or shrewdness. We were wondering where you got to, and thought perhaps you weren't coming back, tittered Fate. I've been hunting with Wisdom, the boy replied, before realising that Fate was kidding. I did really well. He waited a moment for at least one of them to ask what it was that he'd done really well at, but no one did, so he pulled the pouch from behind his back. "I've got this," he told them, in a proud but unaffected manner. "What, an empty black pouch?" Fate kidded some more. "If it's empty, you won't want to look inside, will you?" "If you don't show us what's inside the pouch, you won't get your present," Fate assured him. "What is it that you've made for us for the rest of the journey?" he asked the landlord. "Chicken breast, thinly sliced, in brown fluffy tea cakes, deep-filled apple and blackberry fruit pies, and homemade digestive biscuits, covered on both sides with extra thick chocolate. All in this rucksack." The landlord patted the bag that was on his lap. Evan added, "And a flask of coffee for myself and Fate to share. Nice and hot, not like your—" Evan stopped speaking, and all three turned their backs on the boy. "My what? Not hot like my what?" asked Woody, trying to know what it was that was not hot like the coffee. "Pouch," Fate requested, holding his hand up and clicking his finger and thumb while his back was still turned away from the youngster. Woody put the pouch on Fate's upturned palm. Fate then lowered his arm, placing the pouch in his lap. "Can we get your presents?" Fate told him. Woody squeezed his way between Evan and Fate, who was so impressed by the contents of the pouch that they ignored the boy's pleadings for his present. "He's done real well, hasn't he?" enthused the landlord. "Did you catch this?" asked Fate. "Yes, I did. Where's my present?" "By yourself?" asked Evan, very pleased with his young self. "Yes, by myself. My present?" "Not even a little help," pushed Fate. "I grabbed it with both hands all by myself after Wisdom showed me where it was. Perhaps I should ask him to show me where my present is." "Oh, sorry," said Fate, finally pointing at Woody's present. "What? Where?" "There," Fate pointed. "A piece of string." "I made it myself," the landlord informed him, though he had not really been paying full attention to the conversation. "Oh, very good. Well done. A piece of string tied around a stone." Woody's sarcasm was fueled by the adults around him, who were not taking enough notice of him to realise what he was saying. "String," he mumbled. "What string?" "Don't you want your present? It's in the stream, keeping cool. Just pull the string," the landlord informed him, as he had, at last, heard the boy's mumblings. As he pulled at the string, his present appeared out of the stream. The other end of the string was tied around the neck of a bottle that contained red liquid. "Great cherryade!" enthused the youngster as he untied the knot, releasing the bottle. He coiled the string around his hand and placed it in his pocket, so as to ensure that no harm would befall the ducks, which he could hear further downstream. "It's no cherryade," the landlord begged to differ. "It's cherry juice, made with spring water and fresh cherries." "Thank you very much," said Woody, and he went and stood next to the landlord in order to place a bottle of juice in the rucksack. "It's time we were making tracks," Fate notified them, standing up and turning his back on the landlord in order to have the rucksack placed on his back. "Am I keeping hold of this?" he asked, referring to the pouch, "or do you want to carry it?" "I'll have it," said the boy, taking it from Fate. He placed 2 fingers through a loop made by the drawstring as a means of carrying the pouch. They each said farewell to the landlord and thanked him for his hospitality, food, and friendship. He told them that they were most welcome, and again he found himself apologising for the incident with the white hellebore. Again he was assured that he had been forgiven. Before leaving the village, Fate suggested to Woody that he thank Wisdom for his time and the knowledge which he had imparted upon him. "I already have," Woody began to explain, but Fate waved him away, telling him that he needed to meet Wisdom's companion, who had just turned up. His friend's name is Experience, and he teaches Wisdom all sorts of things, some of which he passed on to me in the fields. Woody enlightened them, trying to sound all grown up. Everyone's got a weird name around here, thought Woody, while walking up the lane. Fate, temptation, love, and lust. And then his name pondering got put on hold when he spotted Experience and Wisdom. He wondered what they were doing. It appeared as though one of them was holding a small silver dustpan to the ground, while the other one, Experience, was using a tiny brush to sweep the glittery particles into it which had been left by the opportunities. "What are you doing?" the boy asked, wondering what on earth two grown men were up to. "Collecting luck, hitting the trails the opportunities leave behind," Wisdom informed him. "Eh? Pardon?" Wisdom explained to him that opportunities often possess a measure of luck, sometimes good and other times bad. "So, how can you tell the good luck from the bad?" "Well, that's where I come in," Experience enlightened him. "That's why he's holding the gathering pan and I was choosing which of the glitter to sweep into it." "Did you find Fate in the others?" Wisdom asked, wondering what the boy was doing back there and whether he had become estranged from his companions. "Yes, they're next to the bridge. I've just come to say thank you for taking me hunting and for answering all of my questions and for explaining the acronym thing about what fear stands for." "What do the letters of fear represent? What do they stand for?" asked Wisdom, testing whether the boy could actually remember or whether he was just bluffing. Woody had been taught so many things that he had to think for a moment in order to get the meaning of the acronym correct. "False expectations appearing real," he gave as his answer. "That's correct. And can you recall the rules regarding failure and effort?" Woody smiled confidently and answered Wisdom's question like this: "You're only a failure if you do not try. And what is it you have to give in order to get what you want?" 100% effort, 100% of the time was the boy's correct and accurate answer. Experience was impressed with the youngster's tenacious willingness to learn, and his aptitude for remembering the knowledge given to him by Wisdom. Now, Experience was usually a reserved type of character who usually taught by example rather than with words, so Wisdom was rather surprised when he put a question to the boy. "What is the key to success in all things?" Experience asked the young lad. While the boy was pondering what the correct answer was, Experience was either twisting the ends of his long slim moustache or rubbing his gauty beard, a habit which he employed in order to keep his impatience under control. Woody thought for a moment and then thought another moment, but finally he had to admit to himself that he did not know the answer. He thought about making something up or guessing at the answer, but then he remembered how Wisdom had told him that if he did not know the answer, to say so. Furthermore, if he did not understand the answer given regarding the question, to say so, and then ask for an explanation. I don't know." "Consistency," Experience replied in earnest. "Consistency," he quizzed. He then carried on asking and questioning Experience until he had the concept perfectly clear in his mind. They talked for a further 10 minutes until Wisdom could see that the boy's travel companions were stood up. Woody turned and began making his way back to Everett and Fate, but then realised that he was still wearing the borrowed t-shirt. "What about this?" he asked, pulling at the top. "Keep it, and I'll keep the white one to remember our hunting trip by." "Thanks," he replied, stroking the softness of the expensive fabric. As he walked away, he glanced back at Wisdom and Experience, who was still sweeping the trails of luck into their collecting pan. Consistency is the key to success in all things. Consistency is the key to success in all things, the boy kept saying over and over as he made his way back to his older time separation, feeling that if it was the key to success in all things, then it was also the key to remembering things. He soon joined Fate and Evan, who was stood waiting by the bridge. Fate beckoned the boy towards himself in order to share something with him. I would like to share with you the sentiments of myself, yourself the elder, and our friend the hotelier in regards to your courageous and deliberate effort which resulted in you being the only one who has caught a golden opportunity at this year's hunt. The three grown-ups applauded, whilst Woody blushed. Fate undid one of the many zips on one of his numerous trouser pockets and told Woody that he deserved a gift for proving that belief in oneself is quite often the key to great reward. He then asked him if he thought he knew what his reward ought to be. Woody hoped he did, and he hoped above all hopes that what he was thinking was correct. Not sure, he replied, erring on the side of caution in case he was wrong. Fate handed Woody his present. Really? For me? My own penknife? Woody checked, just in case it wasn't a gift, but merely a test or another type of lesson which he was being taught. Yes, my friend, the knife belongs to you now, Fate told him, bestowing on him the gift of trust and responsibility. Do I need to emphasize the fact that it is a tool and not a weapon? No, no, replied Woody, who was sincere in his reply and would be true to his word. I thought not, replied Fate, pleased with the boy's moral fibre. Just for a fraction of a moment, Evan considered whether an 11-year-old boy was responsible enough to be gifted a penknife. But he trusted Fate, and moreover, he trusted himself, the younger. Once again, they set off along the highways of life with neither Evan nor his young self knowing what the futures actually had in store for them. Fate, of course, knew that the futures building contained documents concerning future goals, which had to be used in conjunction with plan of action folders. He knew that once they had obtained all 4 documents and had left the futures building, they would be on the easy part of their journey, the short trip home. What Evan and his young self could not have anticipated was running into so many snags along the way, nor the nature of the obstacles which they would place in their way in order to slow, hinder, and possibly bring their journey to an end.